The year was 2000. The world was buzzing with the promise of a new millennium. Y2K fears had just faded, and technology was evolving faster than anyone could keep up. Amid all the change, in a small town where dial-up tones still echoed in bedrooms late at night, two lives quietly crossed in the most unexpected way. This isn't just a love story, it's the love story of a generation finding its way through a digital world that was just beginning to unfold. Welcome to 2K Love Story, a digital romance in the new millennium. She was Aisha, 17, quiet but sharp, the kind of girl who would rather spend an evening customizing her MySpace page than going out. Her life was carefully tucked between school, family dinners, and the glowing screen of a boxy computer that whirred like a jet engine every time it booted. Across the country was Zion, 18, a dreamer who just discovered internet chat rooms and was fascinated by the idea that someone, anyone, out there might understand him better than the people he saw every day. The two met in a pop culture forum, and nothing special at first. Just a couple of usernames commenting on a movie thread. But something about their back and forth felt different, natural, real. As the nights grew longer, so did their chats. They spoke about everything: music, fears, the pressure of growing up, and how strange it felt to be on the edge of a digital revolution. They were teenagers trying to make sense of themselves in a world that was starting to live more online than off. There were no video calls, no instant selfies, just words on a screen, pixelated profile pics, and the electricity of waiting for a reply. Yet somehow, it was enough, or maybe even more than enough. But it wasn't all smooth. Their bond grew, but so did the gap between their realities. Aisha's parents were growing suspicious of her late-night computer time. Zion was starting college soon, in a city hours away from where he'd grown up, and neither of them had ever seen the other's face in real life. What if it was all just a fantasy? What if the person on the other side of the screen was nothing like they imagined? Still, they held on to their connection like it was a lifeline. They made promises. Maybe, someday, they'd meet. Maybe, one day, they'd stop hiding behind screens and tell their real stories out loud. But just when everything felt like it was finally falling into place, here something happened. Something that would test not just their trust, but the very foundation of everything they'd built in their quiet corners of the internet. That night, a single message popped up on Aisha's screen. It wasn't from Zion, but it mentioned him, and it changed everything. This is where their story truly begins. The message was short, just a few lines, no greeting, no sender name she recognized. It simply read, "You think you know Zion? Be careful. He's not who he says he is." Aisha sat frozen, eyes locked on the screen. Her heart pounded. For a few seconds, she thought it was some kind of spam, maybe a prank. But then a second message came, this time with a screenshot. It was blurry but unmistakably Zion's profile picture from the chat forum. Next to a completely different name. She didn't know what to do. The internet was still new, still uncharted territory for people like her. There weren't rules for things like this, no guides on what to do when someone you've shared your secrets with might be hiding something. She stared at the message, reading it over and over, waiting for it to make sense. But it didn't. All she could hear was her own voice, from just a day ago, telling Zion how much he meant to her, telling him things she hadn't told anyone else. She typed out a reply, asking the stranger who they were. No answer, just silence. She refreshed the page, logged in and out. Nothing. The chat thread was gone. That night, she didn't sleep. She thought back to their conversations, how Zion always seemed honest, how his words felt real. But now every message felt like a clue she'd missed. He'd never shared photos other than the one profile picture. He dodged video calls, said his webcam was broken. At the time, it didn't matter. Now, it felt like a red flag she'd ignored. Across the country, Zion was facing his own storm. He hadn't messaged Aisha all day, not because he didn't want to, but because he was being pulled into something that made reaching out dangerous. A friend from school had somehow found out about Aisha. Screenshots were being passed around. Jokes made. People were starting to question who she really was, calling her fake, a catfish. Zion tried to shut it all down, but it was too late. Word spreads fast, especially online. He knew he needed to talk to her, to explain. But how do you explain something you don't fully understand yourself? How do you hold on to someone when your world is falling apart and theirs might be next? While both of them were spinning in doubt and fear, neither knew the full truth yet. And Samionia somewhere was making sure it stayed that way. Aisha couldn't bring herself to message Zion. Not yet. Her mind was full of questions she didn't know how to ask. Instead, she scrolled through their old messages, hoping to find something that could explain what was happening. Every sweet word now felt like it could be a lie. Still, something in her heart didn't fully believe it. Zion had been there for her when no one else was. He remembered things about her even her closest friends forgot. If it was all fake, then why did it feel so real? Meanwhile, Zion was torn. He sat at his desk, his inbox open, watching the blinking cursor in the message box to Aisha. He wanted to tell her everything, but everything felt too messy to explain. The guys at college were ruthless. Once they found out he'd been talking to someone online for months, they pounced. They said it was weird, called Aisha a bot, said she probably wasn't even a real person. Zion knew better, but he couldn't stop the rumors. One of them even sent a fake message from a burner account. He was sure of it now, but proving it was another story. At school, Aisha started noticing whispers behind her back too. Somehow, someone from her class had seen a comment she left in the forum. They made a joke about it during lunch. She laughed it off, but inside, panic spread. Her safe space no longer felt safe. The line between her digital world and real life was starting to blur, and not in a good way. Neither of them knew it, but a third person had been watching them all along. Someone who had seen every message, every post, and had reasons of their own to tear this connection apart before it ever had a chance to become something real. Aisha finally broke the silence. Late at night, when the world felt quieter and her doubts too loud to ignore, she sent Zion a short message. "Can I trust you?" No emojis, no explanation, just that. Then she logged off, heart racing, not knowing if she wanted an answer or feared what it might be. Zion saw the message minutes later. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, unsure what to say. Could she trust him? He hadn't lied, not really, but he hadn't told her everything either. He'd never mentioned that he was being harassed for their friendship. Never said that someone was targeting their chats. And now, with the forum acting strange, threads disappearing, messages vanishing, he wasn't sure if they were being watched or just paranoid, but the timing felt too perfect to be coincidence. Back in the room, Aisha's inbox pinged again. But it wasn't from Zion. It was from the same anonymous account as before. "He's hiding things. Ask him about the girl from the old forum." Her stomach dropped. There had never been any talk about another girl. Just the two of them, or so she thought. Her hands trembled as she clicked through their archived messages. Then she found it months back. One message Zion had typed and deleted mid-conversation. It had mentioned someone named Myra, then vanished. She remembered seeing it briefly, but brushed it off at the time. Meanwhile, Zion stared at the screen, unaware of the storm that was about to hit. His phone buzzed, this time not from Aisha, but from a blocked number. One photo, a screenshot of him and Aisha's chart, edited, twisted, and now being spread online. Both of them, miles apart, felt the same chill. Something was coming, and whoever was behind it wasn't done yet. The next morning, Aisha woke up to chaos. Her inbox was full. Not from Zion, but from strangers, some curious, some mocking, some cruel. Screenshots of her old messages, twisted and taken out of context, were now circulating on multiple forums. Someone had leaked them. Her username, once anonymous, was now being linked to her real name. Panic hit her like a wave. How? She had never shared her full identity. Not even with Zion. Unless a broken bar, someone else had access to her account. She logged in, fingers shaking. The homepage looked different. Her profile had been changed, bio updated, old photos deleted, and one new post pinned at the top. It was a fake conversation, edited to make it seem like she had lied about everything, her age, her location, even her intentions with Zion. She tried to delete it, but her access was blocked. Locked out of her own world, Aisha realized someone had been inside her account, tracking everything. Across the country, Zion was dealing with his own storm. The photo that had been sent to him was now being shared in a group chat he didn't even know he was part of. The messages made it seem like Aisha had been playing him, using him for attention. The story was spreading fast, and no one cared about the truth. He tried calling her. No answer. He tried messaging. Nothing delivered. It was as if someone had cut their connection off completely. Then came the second twist. A new user joined the same forum where Aisha and Zion had met, to a profile using Aisha's exact profile picture, but with a different name. The posts were strange, familiar writing, but the tone was off. It was like someone was pretending to be her, copying her style, baiting him into responding. Zion stared at the screen, confused, heart racing. This wasn't a simple prank. This was calculated. Somewhere deep in the thread, a post appeared. Just one sentence: "You both ruined something that wasn't yours." No context, no name, just a quiet warning. Zion didn't know who was behind it. But they weren't just trying to break them apart. They were rewriting their whole story. And now, neither of them could tell what was real anymore. The message had said where the story began. For Aisha, that meant the old pop culture forum, the one where she and Zion first spoke. She hadn't visited it in months, so it had gone quiet, almost abandoned. But now, something about it felt alive again. She logged in using an old backup account she'd made during the early days. To her surprise, Zion was already there. His username appeared in the user list. For a moment, she froze. Would he believe her? Or had everything been broken beyond repair? Zion's first message was simple. "If this is really you, tell me what I said after your first post." Aisha replied instantly. "You said the movie sucked, but the soundtrack saved it." A long pause followed. Then, finally, "It's you." They didn't waste time. Within minutes, they pieced together what had happened. The fake account, the leaks, the screenshots. Someone had been in both of their inboxes, carefully manipulating their words, stealing their identities. Aisha remembered something months ago. She had used a shared school computer to check her forum messages. It wasn't secure. That was the crack in the door. Someone from her school must have seen everything. And Zion had mentioned that someone from his college had been nosing around his laptop too. Two different places, one person playing them both, or were the two? Then, another message popped up from the same anonymous account. "You were never supposed to meet. I made sure of it." And then a second one: "This was supposed to be my story." Aisha clicked into the profile. It had no name, no posts, said just one image uploaded moments ago. It was a screenshot of a forum thread from over a year ago. The thread she had ignored, a comment left by a user she never responded to. The username was familiar now. It was Myra. Not just a name Zion had once typed and deleted, but someone who had been watching from the beginning. Someone who had once tried to talk to Aisha, maybe tried to connect with Zion too, and got left behind. She wasn't a stranger. She was a ghost in the background, someone who had felt invisible. And now, she had taken control of their story. But just as Aisha leaned in, ready to type, the screen glitched and the account vanished. Deleted. No trace left. Just silence, and the lingering question of how far someone will go, a broken bar to be seen. For a long moment, Aisha just stared at the blank screen, unsure if it was really over. Myra's account was gone. No name, no history, no trace that she'd ever existed beyond the damage she left behind. But the silence felt different now. Not threatening. Just a broken bar finished. Zion sent her one last message on the thread: "We survived it." That's something. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't romantic. But it was real, and right now, that was enough. Over the next few days, the chaos began to quiet. The fake profiles were reported and removed. Aisha regained access to her account with the help of the forum admin, who admitted that this wasn't the first case of digital impersonation they'd seen. They couldn't undo everything, but they helped her take back her name. Slowly, the cruel comments faded, replaced by silence, then by people simply moving on like the internet always does. Zion stepped away from the forums entirely. He needed space. The experience had shaken him more than he let on. But he didn't cut Aisha off. They kept talking, quietly, privately. Not every day, not like before, but with honesty this time, and a cautious trust rebuilding between them. They never did meet in persona, not yet. Life stayed busy, and sometimes distance feels safer. But something had changed. Their bond was no longer just about messages on a screen or shared playlists. It was about what they had been through, or how two strangers had been pulled apart by a digital storm, and still found their way back through the noise. In the end, it wasn't about the fake posts or the leaked messages. It was about connection in a time when everything feels temporary. The internet gave them each other, but it also tried to erase them. And yet, they remained. Somewhere, Myra was still out there. Maybe she thought she'd written the ending, but the real ending belonged to Aisha and Zion. Two names, two hearts, two people who reminded each other that even in a world full of screens and secrets, something true can still survive. And maybe that's what a real digital love story looks like here. Not perfect, not easy, but real.